I'm going to tell a little fishing story from the spring of 1981. Folks seem to like the stories, and us old guys love to tell stories, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to tell a little story. Some pretty good times. 1981, the spring, and I'll be right back and talk about old school crap. As I get to thinking about it, I guess actually maybe in the spring of 1980. Man, is that possible? No, I think let's just call it 81 and call it good. Yeah, it was my junior year in high school, and it's all about high school. Because I was born either 150 years too late, which is probably more likely, or about 30 years too early, because bass fishing was not cool when I was in high school. I wasn't the only kid to fish, but I was the only one that took it that serious. There was one other that was close, but I was the only one that really jammed it. And I wasn't popular because of it. So what happened was this. A couple coaches from my high school liked to fish. And I made no secret of my fishing. That made me so popular. I mean, the ladies flocked around me. The guys thought I was cool. No, they didn't. I was so uncool. But these two coaches liked to fish. And I had the local lake there where I grew up on. You rented a john boat, you took a troll motor and battery with you. So they asked if I'd take them fishing. Okay. Wasn't on a football team. I wasn't playing any sports because I was a fisherman. I shot trap, I hunted, trapped, and fished. That was it. So we went fishing. And what it ended up being was my first ever guide trip. They made the joke before we went about how much would I charge to take them fishing. Okay, it was funny, right? That's hilarious. It ended up not being so hilarious. It ended up being the start of a whole way of life for me for a while. So we went after school one day, early middle of May, to this lake that I've filmed several times in this channel. Haven't been there this year, it's sad. Lake I grew up on, 115-acre water supply lake for the town I lived near. And it was pretty young at that time because they'd rebuilt the lake. The lake had dried up, so they'd restocked it, and it was starting to get to have some pretty good fishing. And I'd really smoked them the weekend before too, so I had something to go on. So we go out that evening and we catch a load of fish. It was wonderful. And they had a blast. And when it was done, they paid me. Would not take no for an answer. They paid me $20 a piece. So that was my first ever guide trip. I got paid to go fishing. 17-year-old kid got paid to go fishing. Man, there's something wrong with that, because that just ruined me for years. It was the first of many guide trips, including with them, actually. Side note to a side note, because you love to tell stories. It was funny. The weekend before, we were catching a bunch of fish on an island of grass. And I'd chunked a spinnerbait, kind of like this, a white woolly spinnerbait up in there, and I got hung up in that grass. And the fish were really loaded up in this little island, so I broke it off. I tried to get it back, a little quarter-ounce white willow leaf, at that time my favorite spinnerbait, and I broke it off. I was telling them the story. I said, when we're done fishing this island, I'm going to go in there and see if I can see that spinnerbait. It should be right here on the edge of that grass. I want it back. All of a sudden, I catch a 15, 16-inch bass. And I crank that bass in on a plastic worm, and that fish had that spinnerbait in its mouth. For real. I mean, I've got lots of stories like that over the years, things you can't explain, but how that fish got that spinnerbait, it just blew me away. Blew them away. It was a great story. So actually, skip ahead to the following day at school. That was a weekday. And you would think I'd be tickled that these guys would talk about my fishing. We had a driver's ed class. Yes, I take driver's ed, save money on insurance. And they had to tell the whole class. It did not do anything to help me with my get along with my classmates. If anything, it hurt. teacher's pet, whatever. You know what? I wanted to fish. Not much bothered me when it comes to my fishing. I don't care what people thought. It did not endear me to anybody except one other teacher who I ended up going fishing with. I did not charge him. It was his pond. So a few weeks later, Coach Harris, who unfortunately passed away several years back, wanted me to take him and his son fishing. I said, I don't want to get paid to do it. He goes, I want to go fishing. Money has nothing to do with it. I want you to take me and my son fishing. I think his boy was 8 years old, if I remember. And it was perfect. The bass were spawning. Everywhere you looked, bass were chasing brim. It was actually kind of tricky fishing, truthfully. So again, I think we went on a Saturday that time. We caught some fish. Had a pretty good day. But anyway, his boy, we were all throwing 6-inch black lizards, because that's what you fish for spawning bass with back then. His boy was just kind of, had that lizard out in the middle of a cove, kind of dragging it around. And all of a sudden, he locked up on his fish, and he catches a 4.5 pounder. Of course, now he'd never been bass fished before. It was also, of course, his biggest bass, which I'm pretty sure his dad had mounted before him. That was a blast. I remember that kid cranking that bass in, his tongue hanging out of the corner of his mouth. The kid, not the bass. And of course, Coach paid me again. He said he could never have it better than that. But that was it. That was the last time I took those guys. I guess they had to fill me. It was great. It was the start of something, though, that continued for several years, especially later on, was I started guides. I teach people how to do stuff like that right there. Yeah, so I guided for quite a few years. I basically made a living off of guiding and fishing tournaments for quite a few years. All good stuff. I just wanted to share it with y'all because it's not always about forward-facing sonar and drama and whatever. Sometimes it's just about good memories. Keep trying to make those good memories. I'm still working on it right now today, trying to make a memory, like something I can look back on. About 9-pound bass right now would help with that memory a bunch. Probably not going to happen. Y'all, thanks for watching. I appreciate it very much. Hope y'all have some memories like that. If you do, share them with me. Sometimes that's all we got, and sometimes that's all you need. God bless. We'll talk to you later.